Okay, here's part two of the video. So before we finished off with outliers and clusters, now we'll finish the last two, and possibly the most important of them, the shift and the overlap. These are the two main things that will actually tell us that one group tends to be larger than the other group. Okay, when I look at the shift, when you look at the shift, you're always comparing the two things, the LQs and the UQs. So this end of the box and the right side of the box. In order for there to be a shift, which would indicate that one tends to be larger, it would have to both be further along on the graph. Okay, so in this case, in our male and female one, both are. It's important that you say what they are. So I say what the female LQ is, and I say that it's larger than the male LQ and what that is. Then the female UQ over here, I say what it is and that it's also larger than that. Okay, now that's quite good. Again, probably for achieved you could get there, but the whole point of it is to say what it all means. So when I'm looking at it, again, for merit, I'm going to say what this actually means. Okay, as both them are bigger, it means that the female middle 50% has been shifted to the right, and it indicates that females may tend to exercise more than males. Again, we like in stats generally to use these kind of qualified things because we're not guaranteeing anything, especially in that we just have a sample. We could even be further and also make sure that we state that this is within our sample, but it's not necessary at this point. Excellence, again, I would look for some kind of backing of it out there and say it's excellence. Okay, and that's good enough. Overlap. Overlap, again, has been really tricky for a lot of people. You have to remember that each section of your box and whisker graph, no matter how long it is or how short it is, it's 25% of your data points, okay, are fit in there. These ones are pretty symmetrical, but again, this could be stretched way out there. But even though it's crazy long, it's still only 25%. So 1/4 of the people fall into that category. Okay. Overlap is talking about is the actual median overlapped by the other person's middle 50% box. It's IQR. Okay. If that's the case, then we're saying that the two groups tend to be similar. But there's not really a big difference. There's a more complicated shift kind of formula where it looks at this gap compared to the overall interquartile gap. But generally, we can get away with just this simple shift idea. Okay? Simple overlap idea. When I look at median, so again, if I'm going to say that one group does tend to be larger, I'm looking at the following matchups. Essentially, 75 is going to be involved. Either 50% of one group is larger than the other one's bottom 75, either top 75 of one is bigger than the other one's 50, or the top 75 is bigger than the other group's 75. Okay? Generally, 75 has to be involved. If you don't have 75 or 100 involved in your conversation, you better not be saying that one group tends to be bigger. The biggest mistake I've seen in the past is one group saying that, like this one, this middle 50%, this top 50% is bigger than this other bottom 50%, and therefore it's bigger. Well, that doesn't actually prove anything. If we wanted to be a little bit absurd about it, this top 50% is larger than its own bottom 50%. Therefore, it's bigger than itself. You know what I mean? That's essentially what you're saying. So you need 75% involved. In this case, this median is outside. So here I have 50%. There I have the bottom 75. Might be able to write on this. Okay. See if my pen comes in. It does. Okay. So there's the top 50. Top 50%. And from here on, that's the bottom 75%. So that's what I'm saying. Now this XX is just some number. Whatever number this is. If this is 25, then I'd have 25 here. Okay, and if this is, say, 30 or 20, if that's 20, then I would write 20 here to say I got to include the actual numbers. Okay, 25. Therefore, the top 50. So I say what it is, and then I say what it means. Okay. Again, implies that one tends to be larger. It's not always larger, it just tends to be. Over here, in this case, the median is lower than this LQ. That's the median of this one, and it's smaller than this LQ of the group A. Again, so I say that the LQ, whatever number this is larger than the median of B, whatever number of median it is. This means that this top 75%, right, 3 sections, so 75% is larger than the bottom 50% of B. Again, that 75 is involved. This implies that A tends to be larger. Okay. In the last case, when an LQ is larger than another group's UQ, okay, so the boxes don't even overlap anywhere, okay, that means that this top 75 here, that's 75%, over is larger than this 75%. Now that's a big difference, okay, really significant. So in that case, I compare the numbers, this LQ number, that UQ number, because this LQ is bigger. Top 75 is larger than the bottom 75. And again, I've added strongly implies. Even then, I'm still not saying that means it is larger. It just strongly implies it tends to be larger. Okay, this is a really strong indication. Okay. In our example, both medians were overlapped, so I'd say that. Both medians are overlapped by the other group's middle 50%. It implies they tend to have similar exercise times. If the groups were made up of athletes and non-athletes, like something similar, then it wouldn't be unlikely for this to be the case. Okay, again, I'm always trying to say, here I'm just saying what it is. Here I'm saying what it means. For merit, I'll try merit there, for merit. And then finally, for that one, then finally I'll look at excellence when I'm trying to give some kind of reason for why the data can look like that. Okay. Finally, the call. Again, at the end of this section, you'll see which group tends to be bigger before we get into doing our informal confidence intervals, which will then attack the median itself, which median is bigger. So I'm making the call based on the center and the shape and the overlap. Now, this is a slightly subjective thing, so if you feel one way or the other and you can back it up, that's fine. In our case, overlap said not much difference. Our shift, there was a shift, so that said females exercised more, and the median was bigger. Now, I thought this median difference was actually fairly large. So I went with there was a difference. Okay, so although the overlap suggests the groups may be similar, the female median is quite a bit larger. And with the shift as well, I would say that in our sample, again, we are talking about just the sample, not the whole population. But in our sample, the females tended to exercise slightly more than males. Okay? I would not say it's a strong tendency, though. Okay, so it's there, but it's not perfect. If I had an overlap to back it up, then I'd feel really comfortable. Okay? So I hope this helps. And we'll be back with informal confidence intervals. Woo!